Atheist Talk on KTNF AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Good morning to all of you joining us locally by radio and streaming online. We appreciate you tuning in. Today is Sunday, February 24th, 2019. My name is Maddie Love, and with me in studio is Hertzie Hertz. And we are excited to be joined in this very studio by Mandisa Thomas, founder and president of Black Nonbelievers, as well as serving on the board for American Atheists. This conversation this morning is going to be open and honest. We welcome and encourage listener interaction with your phone calls to 952-946-6205. Your emails to radio@mnatheist.org. Tweet us at Atheist Talk. Mandisa, Hertzie, thank you for joining us in studio on this gorgeous Christmas morning.
Good morning. It is a pleasure to be here. And I was just saying that the weather around here does really remind me of Christmas.
Yeah.
And there are some people who still have their Christmas lights up.
And they're like all glowing and blowing off the house at this point.
Right.
I was going to say, nobody wants to go outside to take them off.
Right.
I took my Christmas lights off over the spring that we had like a month ago.
Oh, okay. The fake spring.
Yeah, the fake spring.
Though, Maddie, I do have to laugh because you were very Minnesotan there for a moment.
I was?
You were. It was great.
How, in what way?
You had the accent.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
You know, I am from Minnesota originally. The part of Minnesota that's on the Pacific Ocean. West, I'm from, near Seattle. Anyway. All right. So, Mandisa, I'm going to assume that most of our regular listeners know who you are and have at least a passing understanding of what kind of group Black Nonbelievers is. But for those just driving to church this morning or maybe having their tea and crumpets while laying on the Bermuda beach live streaming this show on their smartphone, can you take a moment to talk about the group you founded?
Absolutely. So, yes, thank you very much again for having me here. So, Black Nonbelievers is a 501c3 organization based in Atlanta, Georgia. And we are a fellowship of nonbelievers who we build community for and build that support for primarily for Blacks who are atheists, agnostic, humanists, who are questioning religion in favor of leaving. And that support system is crucial considering the dynamic of religion within the Black community. The numbers, the statistics suggest they actually prove the high religiosity within the Black community, which can be an extremely isolating experience. We have these, we have these challenges being atheists in general, but within the Black community, there is an extra added stigma. And so we have created this support system, founded this organization, and have actually been bringing people together through various events and through various initiatives to show people that there are more of us out here and that we are here to support as much as we can.
So you've probably been asked this question a lot.
Yeah.
And thinking about not just Minnesota Atheists, but when I'm thinking of like in the context here, Minnesota Atheists is a fantastic organization. Mm-hmm. We have a progressive board. We have a progressive president. And like Hertzie's fantastic. You're not the president, but you're on the board.
No, I refuse to be the president. This is on radio and on record.
So
I am up for chair, though.
Why is there a need for Black Nonbelievers to exist in the light of that as a separate group? And how many times have you been asked this well-intentioned but ignorant question from white women like me?
Over the past 8 years since we got started. And really it is because when I became involved with the secular community, I was forewarned about how overwhelmingly white the groups are. And so, which wasn't necessarily an issue for me because I can get along with everybody. I really, really do, whether you're white, Black, whoever. But I quickly noticed that in addition to the challenges of dealing with a lot of religious folks within the Black community, there was a lot of ignorance and dismissal of what people of color, deal with when it comes to atheism, secularism, and non-belief. And also, there just seemed to be this there was clearly a lack of diversity and inclusion. There's clearly this representation problem that we have and a visibility problem within the community. And it seemed like when we talked about this, there were people who became defensive, or, there was always a question of how can we be more inclusive, but they weren't actually doing the things to make sure that they were being more inclusive or retaining people of color within these groups. So it just really needed to be an organization that was created, that was on the ground and meeting people in person. Now, there are tons of online groups. There were tons of online support systems. But in person, me actually bringing out those people in person, we founded Black Nonbelievers locally as an Atlanta group because that is where we just envisioned ourselves being based. And really, it made the difference. It made the difference for other Black atheists to see organized efforts that people who looked like them, who could identify with what they were going through, and from all sides. And it wasn't to separate ourselves. It really was to try to build those alliances within the communities and increase that visibility so that you don't have to always worry or work on what our needs are. We can do that for ourselves. And then we can also, if you have questions about how you can, increase diversity or be more inclusive, then we're more than happy to assist you with that. So it's a multi-task. There are so many people in this community who still have that tunnel vision, or they have that binary way of thinking that they're not thinking of multiple ways of how we can do these things. And this was just another way of doing that. And so, when you ask why, you take a look around your groups and look at who are your attendees, whether it's the age group, whether there's enough women in there, whether there's enough young people, whether there's enough people of color. What you are doing about it will say a lot, and what you aren't doing about it says a lot as well. And so you actually cultivate the need for us to create these groups, and again to try and resolve these problems and these issues, because we aren't just one homogenous community that just can focus on one thing. Especially as more people, when they are letting go of those religious beliefs, they are reconsidering them, there needs to be multiple avenues of support. And so, just we're all atheists is just not going to cut it.
No, it's like okay, you answered that one question, like about does God exist? But there's so many other things. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but white people get kind of skittish talking about racial issues.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, especially around people. I have no problem talking about racial issues at home with my kids because but I honestly, just sitting here, it's like, wow, should I bring that up? Is that something we should? And it's and I know that it's okay because I've listened to you talk. We've had we don't have a close relationship. We've had a relationship a little bit. But I can't imagine how it would feel to walk into a room where, well, actually, I mean, as a trans person, I can feel when I walk in a room of all cis people.
Right.
But I can hide if I want to.
Right.
You don't have that option.
No. And many white people don't really think about what it's like, that you cannot hide. And I wouldn't want to hide my blackness.
Right.
I wouldn't want to hide my struggles and what we go through. And we shouldn't have to diminish that, because when we walk out of here, there are a lot of things that we have to deal with simply, because we're Black, and even within this community. Mm-hmm. And there are people who need to understand that.
Right. And I can't even pretend to say, well, I can know what you're going through. I can know how to address. I feel like who's best at addressing the problems and not the problems, but the challenges that a Black atheist would go through? Black atheists.
Exactly.
Okay, let's not bring logic into this conversation.
Right, what are we doing? We're making too much sense here. Right. And, it's so interesting that I do come across quite a few, obviously not you two ladies, but we come across quite a few people who think that they know so much more about what we go through than us. And we're just like, no, that just simply isn't the case. I mean, you can have all the information, and I appreciate the white folks who are well-versed and who do understand. But yes, unless you have lived experiences are a thing. It's a thing within the Black community. It's a thing within the trans community, within the LGBTQ community. Mm-hmm. Our lived experiences are important, and they should not be dismissed. And taking all of that into account, in addition to the statistics, there has to be a much better understanding, as well as a much better working relationship, with the people that we're trying to retain in these communities.
And I feel like Black Nonbelievers and Minnesota Atheists and American Atheists, obviously, since you're on the board, seem to understand that the relation, you can have separate organizations, but you're working together towards common goals. You're just attacking problems from different angles.
Right.
At least that's how I see it.
Yeah, because even within the overall secular community, you have your white organizations. You have American Atheists, the American Humanist Association, your secular student alliances. You have other organizations, and we partner with all of them. So why all of a sudden is it an issue when there's a Black Nonbelievers? When there's a secular woman, when there are your ex-Muslims of North America, when there are Hispanic American freethinkers, right. When there are clearly differences even within amongst the overall community themselves. And so instead of looking at them or viewing them as being divisive, we can certainly view them as just being more tools and more opportunities. And yes,
I was going to say it's also a numbers game too with the attacking from multiple. Because if you have one organization saying, "Hey, there's this problem with this legislative," okay, that's good. But if I have 10 groups saying I have a problem with this, those numbers count.
They sure do.
All right. So when we come back from the break, I want to touch a little bit on chapter, and we're going to dig into the talk you're going to give later today. Awesome. Please stay with us to the break. Hertz, now we'll turn to Atheist Talk with special guest Mandisa Thomas. You're listening to AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Welcome back to AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota. You're tuned into Atheist Talk. I'm your host, Maddie Love, joined in studio by my co-host, Hertzy Hertz. And in just a moment, we'll return with our special in-studio guest, Mandisa Thomas, president and founder of Black Nonbelievers. I know you just finished listening to commercials, but I wanted to give my weekly shout-out to Cucumbers Restaurant in Edina. It is true that Atheist Talk is produced with funding from both Minnesota Atheists and Cucumbers Restaurant in Edina, but it is also true that the buffet at Cucumbers is fantastic, ginormous, and one of my favorite places to grab a bite, whether it's just after being on air, like maybe today, or just spending an enjoyable meal with my wife. So seriously, please consider visiting our sponsors, and if you do, let them know that you appreciate their support of Atheist Talk. If you'd like to advertise on this program and help keep us on the air, please contact us at radio@mnatheist.org. And now back to Mandisa. If you'd like to get involved in this conversation, you call us at 952-946-6205. Email us at radio@mnatheist.org, or tweet us at Atheist Talk. So going into the break, we were talking a lot about Black Nonbelievers.
Yes.
And I'm a part of another group, and we're in the process of, just getting started. Mm-hmm. And when I was looking at the Black Nonbelievers website last night, I was thinking, I see there's a Minneapolis affiliate.
Yes.
Which I actually knew beforehand, but still. But it got me thinking, so what if, what's the process of becoming an affiliate? If the listener right now is listening in mm-hmm. Duluth, and they're thinking, why isn't there a Duluth affiliate? Is there a process to this, or is it just how does that work?
Yes. So as still a young organization, Black Nonbelievers does rely on volunteers. I am technically still a volunteer in this movement. So it really does, we really do depend on people who are willing to step up and start an affiliate group in their area. I know the now Black Nonbelievers of Minneapolis was once Black Freethinkers of Minnesota, and I shout out to Mahad, who is our lovely organizer.
We love Mahad.
Yes, he is amazing.
Hi, Mahad. I don't think he's listening, but I can poke him later.
Yeah. And so we had a conversation. I am very, very easy to talk to. I like to think I am, but yes. Really, the process of becoming involved and affiliated with Black Nonbelievers, even if you aren't going to start your own be-in affiliate, it's just a matter of making sure that your group is on the same page and has the same shared values. But if you want to start a Black Nonbelievers group in your area, first I'd like to identify that there is a specific need. If there is a Black population who are atheists or who may be in a closet and who need this type of support, then I talk with potential organizers, me and some members of our board. We outline our guidelines, our expectations of what it takes to run one of our groups. And really, I don't like to say that some things aren't that hard because, we have our different schedules. But we lay the ground rules and expectations. We try to find out what type of experience people have with organizing, hosting events, and how much they know about the movement, because that is also something very, very important for people to know. And so from there, we have a conversation about that, and then we get a specific logo for the city, and then we create a meetup group. We make sure that the organizers become a part of our network. They're connected with the other organizers across the country, so that they know that, who they are, the type of events that they do. And then from there, we just say, hey, we're that support system. We're always here. But then it is up to the organizer. It is up to the attendees to make sure that they are continuously hosting events, meeting with people, as well as collaborating with other groups in the area, because we are very, very big on networking and collaborating with other area organizations.
So it's like you're not saying, hey, you couldn't be like, if I've got a small group together, not me personally, obviously.
Well,
there's already a group from Minneapolis. But it's like, hey, like we recognize, we see a need. You're a group of people. We see you doing good work. Mm-hmm. Yes, we're willing kind of to affiliate and have almost like our brand be part of it. Otherwise, hey, you're doing great work, but, we're just not quite at the same. You guys are meeting once a year. Mm-hmm. We don't want people thinking, oh, cool, I got a Black Nonbelievers affiliate in my city. Oh, but they're not doing anything.
Right. Yes. Our groups, our affiliate groups have to, they at least have to be hosting at least 1 to 2 events per month. We don't like to monopolize people's time. You don't have to be doing something once a week or even twice a week, because many people have they've left their churches because of that. They've
Right.
monopolized so much time. But getting people together in person is a part of our mission, and it does build on that support, and people need to know they need to be seeing each other. Mm-hmm. And really, there is nothing like just seeing and just engaging in person. And so it doesn't have to be, it can be you can meet at a coffee shop, you can meet at a restaurant, and it can only be about 5 people. It doesn't have to be an enormous amount, or, we're all about quality at our organization. So even if you are meeting with just 2 to 3 people, that you start going and maintaining that. Consistency is a thing. So you go from the 5 people to more in the future. So that is the basis of what we do, and it really is about taking that time, to meet people in person, even if it's just once a month.
Well, and I find, being a former churchy person, something that I really missed when I left church was community.
Yes.
And it wasn't until, and I found community before even Minnesota Atheists, just through Atheist Talk.
Yeah.
But like meeting people, and I feel like the atheist community, the non-believer community, with secular community in general, mm-hmm. we sometimes don't have community. Mm-hmm. And it's meeting people and talking to people and knowing, hey, if I'm sick, somebody's going to come visit me in the hospital.
Right.
Like
those things make
somebody will bring me dinner if I have surgery,
right,
or something.
Right. And we also contend at our organization is that, we want to continue to build those networks, but we also do want to make sure that people aren't just coming in for the simple sake of, well, what can you do for me? Which is important because we want to be able to help as many people as possible. But I think particularly for those who have left the church, and particularly within the Black community. And I'll be honest about this. Unfortunately, and I'll talk about this later too during the presentation, is that, there's such a savior mentality when it comes to our communities and looking for that divine intervention or that magical, that magical solution. And there isn't one. We have to continue to do this. It takes work, and it takes time, and it takes our human ingenuity. And sometimes it's hard. It's a lot of work. It can be very, very exhausting and frustrating. And sometimes that means that you have to vet certain people and acknowledging that there are some people that you cannot help. It's important that we're honest about that. But yes, for those who need it and for those who are, active and are passionate about certain areas, you certainly can incorporate that into other, into your organization's missions. As long as they are, as long as it's people driven, as long as you are really willing to,
Oh, it's actually a great time because we're about to go into a break.
Okay.
We'll return to our guest, President and founder of Black Nonbelievers, Mandisa Thomas, after this short commercial break. Please stay with us. I'm Maddie Love with Hertzy Hertz, and you're listening to Atheist Talk on KTNF, AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Thank you for tuning in to Atheist Talk on AM 950 KTNF. I'm your Matt. I was thinking about that last commercial, which, to be honest, was terrible. Gosh, that was terrible. Oh, be a man. Register for the draft or whatever. It's like, anyway, I'm not going to. Sorry. That was very unprofessional of me. I'm your host, Maddie Love, in studio with Hertzy Hertz, chatting with Mandisa Thomas. Mandisa sits on the board of American Atheists and is the founder and president of Black Nonbelievers. If you'd like to chat with us this morning, you can call us at 952-946-6205. Email us at radio@mnatheist.org or tweet us at Atheist Talk. If you're interested in hearing more from Mandisa, she'll be delivering her presentation, Fear of a Black Atheist, today at the Minnesota Atheists Public Meeting, taking place at the Maplewood Public Library from 2 to 4 p.m. Check the Minnesota Atheist Facebook page, Twitter feed, Instagram feed, or meetup.com for that address, because apparently when writing this hosting script last night at 2 a.m., I didn't think to write the address down. I also want to thank our group of dedicated volunteers and the generous donations of you, our listeners. You help keep Atheist Talk on the air and in podcast form. This week, we'd like to thank our special donor of the week, Mike. Mike, thank you so much. If you're able to help with a donation, please consider doing so at our Radio Fund page or our Patreon, where you can get extended interviews at www.patreon.com/atheisttalk. Does anybody use www anymore? I'm really old.
I know. Yeah. I still do. But
so
yeah.
It's actually like a programming website-y thing. It's a techie thing.
I know, but I don't actually type that anymore. You just type in patreon.com/atheisttalk and it'll get
But that's
you there.
that's because of how Patreon does the thing with the stuff.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Minnesota Atheists is a 501c3 tax-deductible organization, just like Black Nonbelievers.
Yes.
Yeah. We couldn't do this show without you, and we deeply appreciate your support. Music for Atheist Talk is by composer and member Brent Michael David and is used with permission. Please note all opinions are of the guests and hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the Minnesota Atheist Organization. So when I was making fun of that last commercial, that was me. That was not Minnesota Atheists. All right, mischief managed. Let's get back to Mandisa Thomas.
Yay.
I was going to say one last piece of mischief. It is 3025 South Lawn Drive.
Which is also the Maplewood Public Library. If you have a GPS machine, just plug it into your Google or Bing. You can Bing it. I can't promise you where you can. Actually, I Bing. I can't promise you where you're going to get if you Bing it.
I don't know if I can talk to you
We're
anymore,
having
Maddie.
too much fun on a Sunday morning. Stop it. No, just kidding.
All right. So, Mandisa, thinking about your talk today, what does the title Fear of a Black Atheist mean? Like, is this talking about fears that someone who is both black and atheist might have? Or is this talking about how, like, atheist groups are all too often predominantly white, like the atheist groups fear the black atheists? Or am I missing this point altogether?
Well, there's a couple of aspects to this, probably like a three-prong thing. Well, first, as I said on the show I was on recently, I am a huge hip-hop fan, old school hip-hop, and so I have to thank Don Button out of Sacramento. He was the advisor at Sacramento City College. He helped me come up with this title for this talk because if you're familiar with Public Enemy, the rap group Public Enemy, they have an album called Fear of a Black Planet. And so it was, I remember when he pitched the title to me, and I just started laughing because I was like, oh my gosh, it's so great. But we thought it might be a bit too controversial. But as I talked with my sister Bria, shout out to Bria out of Detroit, she was like, no, this is perfect. Go with it. So really the fear of a Black atheist it does touch on the fears that we do have. And whether that is about coming out, whether that is about engaging other people. It's also the fear of a Black atheist within the Black community, being scared of our position, what it might do. And also fear of a Black atheist within the secular community. The fact that we are speaking to our issues. That might be uncomfortable for some people, but we need to talk about them. And even perhaps the fear that more of us might, infiltrate, if you will. I'm not sure if, for some of the people who, they say they want to be more inclusive, they might just keep talking about those issues. How people are talking about the social justice warriors now, they're gonna talk, it's not gonna be about atheism anymore, stuff like that, So I'm a social justice
rogue, and I think you're a social justice
bard.
Or
cleric. I haven't made up my mind yet.
I could see you as both.
I don't
you could multi-class.
I don't want to sing enough musical talent. Yeah. But I can see what you're like. We had talked about before, like walking into a room.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine what it's like walking into a room, especially like, oh wow, nobody here looks like me.
Yeah,
and knowing that nobody here has gone through what I'm going through,
mm-hmm.
and nobody here is going to be able to relate to the things I'm going. And maybe some people can.
Right.
But just over, you walk in, it's like,
I was going to say, and even if they can, it's not quite the same.
Right.
So while I can't understand the exact feelings, but I can't understand, I can see how somebody might have fear.
Right. And then you have, and I've had other organizers, white organizers, come to me and tell me that some of their members or former organizers were like, well, we don't get that many Black people in here. And it's like, oh, great. Yeah. So, you're just going to say the most inappropriate thing. And it's a matter of people really, really watching what they say and what they do. Especially if they want to. Don't get so excited that you see a person of color that you're going to drive them away, which can happen. And so knowing how to engage different people, it really is, and it really is a thing to, our community does lack a lot of ability in engaging people and reading rooms and knowing how to talk to people.
And
this
tact.
is something that
and tact.
Yes. Yes. Tact doesn't mean you always have to be super duper nice and sugary, but knowing how to at least say, you always err on the side of being objective and being courteous. And so many people really don't, they need work in doing that. And so, we just need to be honest about that. And I just really think that, we pride ourselves on, the overall community prides itself on its intellectual capability. Well, and if that's the case, then you should be able to better understand what different people go through. And even if you can't do it personally, knowing that there's someone else that might need to do it and that you need to support it, even if you personally can't do it.
Yeah, because I don't need to understand everything that you're going through, but I do need to understand that I don't understand.
Right.
Like that's a form of understanding.
Right.
It's coming to the realization that, hey, I'm not an expert in that.
Right.
And maybe I can't be an expert in that.
Right.
But you are.
Right. And I can support what you do.
Right.
I really can help as much as possible. But yeah, some people think their help means that you should just look at things from their point of view and do what they want to do. And it's like, yeah, no.
So without giving away too much of your talk today, like, I guess what's kind of is there like an overarching focus that you're going to go through? Other than just what we just talked about? But
so it's going to be So it's going to be I'm going to go into some history here, understanding why, religion takes such a huge form within the Black community, and then understanding, why it's also an issue, why it's also a problem. I'm going to be talking about, Black Nonbelievers as an organization, some of the things that we've done, some of our initiatives, like, for example, our Being Changes Lives campaign that we launched last year, actually in 2017. And then also what people can do if they want to support us, as well as if they consider themselves allies, which I think should be qualified. There are people who, if you are an ally, you consider yourself, what you should and shouldn't do. And I'm going to talk about some of our upcoming events and projects as well. So it's going to be a combination of things. It's going to be wrapped up into one very informative presentation session.
You've given this talk from my Googling research
Yes.
last night to a number of different organizations for like the last year or so.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get pushback at some organizations you speak to ever? Or just like you come in, you start talking, you're like, wow, I read this room wrong. They really don't want like
for the most part, it's well received. I'd like to think that charisma should be a thing when we're talking, and with my experience with talking with audiences and engaging people. For the most part, it tends to be well received. I think that there are some, I always get and I do address I'm not Black. How do I support, or can I be a part of this? And I think I tend to address that, I think, sufficiently during this talk and whenever I speak. So there tends to be some of that. Actually, there tends to be some like, okay, like, wow. So I was a little scared that I couldn't be involved with this organization if I'm not if I'm not Black or not a person of color, and so. I think there are some of those fears that are alleviated, hence the fear of a Black atheist, because I think there are some people who think that they may not be able to relate or support, and that just simply isn't true.
No, and from my standpoint, the way I see it, please correct me if I'm wrong, it's like I can be a part, I can support, this is not an organization that I should be in front of and trying to lead.
Correct.
It's like, but you can still be there and help.
Absolutely. You can help, you support, and financially is a thing. We certainly do appreciate everyone who supports us, and we have supporters of all kinds. But yes, if you are trying to center yourself or center your issues as a white person and Black nonbelievers, that just simply isn't going to happen. And we've had guest speakers before. We've had Dale McGowan from Foundation Beyond Belief. We've had Darryl Ray. He's going to be one of our speakers on one of our upcoming events. So we do appreciate our allies, and we also appreciate those who work with us in the movement. And we like to showcase that. We really, really do. But as far as it being the centerpiece, no, because there are a lot of Black atheist authors, activists, and voices that are coming up and that we are helping to grow, and that the overall secular community was either unaware of or they've ignored. And so we are dedicated to building up this demographic because we know they're out there. We've engaged them. We've actually helped contribute to their work. And that is who we center.
Well, and it feels like the secular community as a whole understands that when they think of that themselves. Like, we're not going to center Christians on Atheist Talk. And it doesn't mean that there aren't Christians that want to ally with us that work towards the same goals as we do. It doesn't mean, we acknowledge they're there. Right. But we center secular voices. We'll have Christian guests on sometimes. We've had Christians in studio with us before. Yeah. But we're not going to, they're not centering the Minnesota Atheists. They're not centering Atheist Talk. So it seems like we understand this when it's coming from our point of view. But I know in talking to other atheists out there are atheists who just don't get it when it's not their group. Right. And then also, too, even within their groups. I'm sorry, Hersey. It's okay. It's like you certainly aren't centering our voices, and partially because most of the community is, it is still predominantly white. And we do acknowledge that there are others out there who need, who are important to this movement. But, in our subsects, there are voices that we center. All right, when we come back from break, I'm going to talk about two of the other events you have coming up. which both sound really awesome. Yes. We're joining our guest, Mandisa Thomas, right after this short commercial break. I'm Maddie Love in studio with Hertzy Hertz, and you're listening to Atheist Talk on KTNF, AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Welcome back to AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota. You're tuned into Atheist Talk. I'm your host, Maddie Love, and I'm joined in studio with Hertzy Hertz. And we are also happy to be joined by Mandisa Thomas, president and founder of Black Nonbelievers. And I promised that we were going to talk about two really fun things coming up.
Yes.
So I want to start with one that, because it's the weather here in Minnesota right now is so gorgeous. And actually, as a fan of winter, I actually do like the weather right now. But
it's a little icy for me.
Whatever. Just match. So I might not have to worry about my heart melting when it's this cold. But the first one I guess I want to talk about was CCon 2019. Is it just CCon?
BNCCon 2019. Yes.
BNCCon. That's on, but it's C like SEA,
yes,
not BNC like C.
Correct.
C. Okay.
Yes.
Or even the word yes, not that kind of C.
Right.
All right. So this is a cruise, and I'm looking at how impressive it is, and I'm wondering, whoever organized this have to sign on to purposely get in an ulcer to like get this thing together with all the stress? Because this thing looks huge.
Yeah. So we started doing this back in 2017 under a former organizer. So this year I am doing it. And it's actually kind of fun for me because basically what you normally see at your other events on land, at different hotels or different conference spaces, is pretty much what you can do also on a cruise ship. And it's a great way for people to get out of those comfort zones, meet with like-minded individuals, have, group time, hear speakers, and participate in different activities. And this is what we're going to do here for BNCCon. The past 2 years, there were about a good 30 of us. Very, very diverse attendance, which was great. And this year, I'm excited about the ship we're going to be on. It's one of the Carnival's newer ships, the Horizon. They debuted it in 2018. The ship holds about 3,000 people. But, we're going to be our group of, atheists, humanists, agnostics. Hey, see us here. But, and really, yes, I'm, as a native of New York, I'm no stranger to the snow. But having been in Atlanta for over 20 years, I haven't seen this much snow in years. So this has been a reminder for me, which is, it's been very, very interesting. I love looking at the snow. Not for too long, though.
It looks way better on TV. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it does. And, actually, when you look at the snow here, you're like, being in the Caribbean right now might not be so bad. But, yes, and so it's great to interact with so many different people from different backgrounds, but also to meet other members, other people in the movement, and to also hear and see the activism that's taking place. And, we just love, as an organization and as a part of my personal mission, bringing people together, especially to see those who you may not have known were doing such fantastic work, is very, very important to me. And doing it in a setting that gets people out of those shells and doing something different, or even consistently doing something that would be enjoyable. And cruises are amazing. They can be an amazing experience. And being, and it's good to know what it's like to be with a group of people for about 5-6 days at a time. And being in a space where, you may not be able to go anywhere for, a couple of days, but, it's good. But, it is good also that there are so many amenities on a cruise ship. It's like, it's like their own little cities. So it's just, it really, really is a good way for people to get out and do something fun as well as informative.
And you have another event. Hertzy, did you want to talk about this one?
Yes, this one's a little more landlocked.
Yes.
Chicago's on a big lake, and that's like an ocean.
Yeah, isn't that Lake Michigan? Yeah, that's not Superior.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, that was a good one.
Y'all need the drum thing, the drum sound that y'all.
Yes. And admittedly, I was looking at the price of both CCon and the Women of Color Beyond Belief conference, and admittedly, this one is more my style that way too.
The other one is $850 per person based on double occupancy.
Yeah. And we do have payment arrangements actually for both events. With cruises can be paid in increments. So, we try to make them as affordable as possible well as try to fundraise. But yeah.
Oh, yeah, which is great because, those things could be tough. But yeah, so the Women of Color Beyond Belief conference in Chicago, I see lots of things to do here. Can you elaborate?
Yes. So we're going to have an amazing lineup of women of color who are involved in the secular movement in various ways. And we are hosting, this is being put on by Takifu Hutchinson out of California. She's over the Black Skeptics of Los Angeles and the Women's Leadership Project. And also Bridget Bria Crutchfield, who is one of our board members and our organizer out of Detroit. So we are going to have a screening of Takifu's docudrama, White Nights, Black Paradise, which is based on her novel about the Jonestown tragedy, Jonestown Massacre. We're also going to have a day and a half of panels, workshops, speakers, as well as a red carpet divas ball on that Saturday, October 5th. And we want the women and everyone in attendance to be able to just have a good time. Our mission is to incorporate the fun into the activism because we deal with so much on a regular basis that this will be a great opportunity for people to see how we shine, how we all shine, and just to have an opportunity to just really, really have a good time. And we'll probably have a keynote speaker during, but we want the ladies, we want all the attendees just come on out and just have and we have an all inclusive price with all the events, and we just really it's going to be a great experience for everyone who is in attendance, and sponsorship opportunities are available for both events. And I'd also like to thank the Freedom from Religion Foundation, who is our most major sponsor to date. I definitely have to thank them for that. As well as the American Humanist Association, Secular Woman, Recovering from Religion. They've signed on. Atheist United as well. I'd also like to thank the atheist community of Boston for sponsoring BNCCon 2019. So, these are just going to be some amazing events, and you get to see how we do things BN style. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun and just some really, really supportive, affirming events for just everyone involved.
Yeah, so the Women of Color Beyond Belief Conference is October 4th through 6th. And I know this is early, but I am totally get ready to set up a caravan here.
Yes.
In my caravan.
I don't think I can dodge that one. But that's terrible.
And we will have childcare available. Camp Quest will be generously doing childcare.
Awesome. Oh my gosh.
So, yes, we want everyone, if you want to bring your children, it will be very kid-friendly. Please sign up your kids. It will be an amazing experience for everyone.
Are the kids on the red diva carpet too?
Yes, absolutely.
I was going to say, I do have to smile because you keep looking at me when you're saying kids. I'm like, I have cats. There are no children.
The cat kids, I don't know about that, but yes.
All right, well, we are going to have to wrap this up. This has been fantastic.
Yes.
Thank you for tuning in to Atheist Talk. We'd love for you to join us again next Sunday. And remember, if you miss an episode, you can always catch the podcast available on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app. This has been Atheist Talk on AM 950, KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota.